Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined here by Mr. Andrew Hansen, and we are going to go over the two-game slate for Monday, August 31st. So, before we get started, Andrew, how are you doing, and how was your Sunday?
I'm doing quite well. A good Sunday. My sister's family was here, so that was nice to connect with some family. And then, everybody was asleep for the night game here, so I got to watch Jamal Murray down the stretch, and that was quite a treat.
Yep.
Going for 50 again, just making everything, playing with emotion, and then that post-game interview was riveting. I mean, the guy, played with his heart on his sleeve. You can tell how motivated he is in this time to be a leader for the NBA, and he really put on a show. He was tremendous. It was what the NBA is all about.
It really was. I'll tell you the sports day in general. What I was thinking about before we jumped on the podcast is sport is just so exciting. Sports are so, they're beyond just the game itself, just the atmosphere, the teamwork, the guts that's shown, the excitement from the fans watching. There's just so many things that sports gives to our society that, the people that don't understand sports or say, they're a waste of time or whatever, they don't get it, because it's such an extension of some of the wonderful things about life. And today, not to sound so cliche and everything, but I appreciate it so much more now. I never thought in my lifetime we would have no sports, no nothing. We'd all be locked down, with the time frame that we were with the virus. And then just to have a day like today where I remember at least 4 times I dove off the couch yelling, made my dog go hide under the bed. He was afraid. And it was like, a combination of everything, Luka, getting tomahawk chopped by Morris, and then, some of the huge buckets that some of these guys hit, and then Murray and Mitchell back and forth, and then watching the end of golf. You watch DJ rolling a putt that was absolutely impossible, only in the extra hole to have Rahm roll in one that was truly impossible, 66-footer with 2 breaks. Right. I mean, it was amazing. But that's the fun of it. I mean, that is what's so wonderful, and it was an exhilarating day in sports. We did some really good stuff at Coach Talk. For those of you that are members, we certainly cashed in some baseball, basketball, and golf. It wasn't a huge takedown day, but we certainly made our mark with some of our stronger plays. But just the excitement of it and the emotion, I really, really enjoyed it today. And just a reminder of how lucky we are to have sports back, and hopefully it continues. That's the thing. We aren't out of the woods with all the stuff going on. We just have to hope and pray that things keep going in the right direction like this, because, today was a lot of fun.
Amen.
Yeah, no doubt. I am wearing my all black, the hat and the shirt, in honor of the Mavericks eliminated from the playoffs. It was comical, though. I mentioned it to you before the podcast, but for the listeners, they'll get a kick out of it. I rostered Morris on my DraftKings lineup, and I got so mad when he tomahawked Luka like that. I'm yelling, throw him out, and I put something in our Discord, throw his ass out or something. And here I'm thinking, oh my God, they just threw him out, and I have him in my lineup.
Right. Yeah, the Mavs fan, and you took over.
It did. It was one of those definitely Homer Simpson backing into the bush, though, after I realized I had him in my lineup. But anyway, it was fun. So a couple of things. We're going to dive into this 2-game slate, and we usually do a little prep work before talks, a short time, because we like to just be open and approach things in this podcast. We think that's a lot of the appeal, a lot of the feedback we get. People just love the back and forth and just, laying it out there. But, one thing I can tell you before we get into this slate is both of us are scratching our heads. This is a tough 2-game slate with, we're both a little unsure on our builds yet. So we're going to do the best we can to talk through them, maybe come to some conclusions on this podcast. But man, if there's ever a day to follow us, if you're a member in Discord or if you want to become a member, dive in. If not, on Twitter, because we're going to be probably making some decisions. We have 2 night games tomorrow, so we don't have that crunch of having to get anything done at lunch or even in the afternoon. So, we'll be the smoke will be coming out of the ears trying to get to the bottom of these 2 games, because they're both terrific games. There's no doubt. All right. I want to thank our presenting sponsors, mybookie.ag. It is the place to go for all your sports wagering and casino action. And if you deposit, you get a 100% match all the way up to $1,000 on that first deposit. And you also get a $25 free play, but you have to use the promo code CoachTalk. All one word, no space, CoachTalk. Same promo code for our friends at tvg.com. They offer a $300 risk-free bet. You can only get that through us. It's $200 with every other affiliate that I've seen. So if you want that $300 risk-free bet, go to dfscoachtalk.com. Click on the banner that says TVG risk-free $300 play, and the rest will follow. Coach Talk is the promo code. All right. The 2 games that we wanted to discuss on this show that I'm sure you're waiting for us to discuss. We have the lines up, and the first game, it's a 6:30 p.m. game, and it is game 1 of the Eastern semifinal. The Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks are a 5.5-point favorite, and the over-under is 223. So what is your initial take on this highly competitive series?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Miami's coming in after a sweep, and they're confident. Butler sounds like he's healthy. So it's going to be a real exciting matchup. The teams have played a couple different types of games, high scoring, low scoring, in their matchups this season. And, in terms of pricing, the thing that jumps out of me jumps off the page, just like the last slate, is Chris Middleton again. 7.9 on DraftKings, only 6.8 on FanDuel.
That's
and
underpriced.
I just don't know how you can pass that up on FanDuel, the way he's finally trending in the right direction, more aggressive, scoring it. He's played well against Miami this year. So that's, one piece of clarity, at least for me, is
here's a question for you, though, not to interrupt you, but again, we're talking this through. Does Butler guard Middleton?
I'm not sure. There's Crowder there. It's a good question. Butler's only played in this matchup 1 out of the 3 times this year. So that's something we can dig into a little bit more.
That's the initial matchup I have in my brain here. And that, again, just as you're talking it through, I wanted to throw that in there because that's certainly a deterrent, even though he's a great price. So continue.
Okay. So that's item number 1. Item number 2 is Bledsoe is all of a sudden questionable with a hamstring. So we got to monitor that. If he's out, then all of a sudden George Hill is a strong value play.
Definitely.
Giannis has not gone crazy against these guys this year. So I'm a little bit hesitant to pay up for him. It's going to be very tough with Harden in the second game and all these stars. I mean, what a collection of stars in these 2 games. That's crazy. What makes it so tough. Here's another piece of clarity. I like Jay Crowder as a value play here. 4.5 on DraftKings, 4.7 on FanDuel, and the small forward position on FanDuel is a bit of a mess. You've got Giannis way up top, and then to me it's Crowder, House, and Gordon. So it's just not as much flexibility. I like the security of a guy in this game who can kind of get stats in so many different ways. So I feel pretty good about Crowder as one of my key value plays. And
Yeah.
then Dragic, Butler, and Bam, they're all attractive to me. They're all solid prices. So I think in most of my lineups, I'll have at least one of them and maybe two. What are your thoughts on game one here?
Well, it's interesting. We have a competition in our with our members. We did a where everybody filled out the bracket prior to the playoffs. Have a little contest, and I actually picked the Heat to win this series in that contest, and I'm going to stand by that. I think it's going to be hard fought, but I say that because I really respect Spoelstra. I love his defensive schemes, and I think if he can keep control of Giannis, again, that's it's easier said than done, but if he can be kept under control, you know, I think it equalizes the game a lot because Milwaukee, if they're not hitting threes for some of their guys, you can really slow them down, even though their pace is high and they play good D. Miami can slow it down enough that, I think that the Heat Bucks games in general are going to be lower scoring. Like if you're betting the game, I'd play under 223. I just think this is going to be more of no free buckets at the rim, more of a lockdown type game where both teams defend. And, they both have some great interior defenders. Bam can defend the rim. Certainly Giannis as the defensive player of the year on the other end. And, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of free, easy buckets. And, the Heat certainly don't want to get the Bucks into a running match because the Bucks want to do that. They really work on getting 25 to 30 points off of their defense transitioning into offense, either in a fast break or a shot attempt 8 seconds into the shot clock. So it's not just the fast break stat, but I like to look at both of those combined because it gives you more of what are they getting before the defense can get set. So Miami's I guarantee you that's what they're talking about in their locker room. We want to make it more succinct. We're not going to let them get those shots up. Let's force them to work it so we can get some positioning, get some people to be able to help on Giannis inside. And, he's going to make some other guys from the Bucks make some shots, whether it's Hill or Lopez or guys like that. But I think they're going to get out on, Middleton as best they can with Butler. And I think he's going to just take that on. And then they're going to try to play tons of help on Giannis and make somebody else step up. I agree with you. If Bledsoe is a scratch or minutes limit, then you absolutely have to play Hill as just a no-brainer value play. If Bledsoe gets ruled in, more than likely those two guys will split the game. So, that eliminates them for me in my thinking. So, when I look at it, I don't want to spend that money for Giannis, but it is a 2-game slate. So I understand if you want to because you can't run from those big fantasy points. But if, for my game script, if Middleton's going to control or Butler is going to control Middleton to some extent, and they're going to play that scheme defense where they at least can keep, Giannis within reason, then I'm just not real high on the Bucks offense. And there were sections against Orlando of time where they didn't play good ball. They looked a little sloppy, a little flat. So I don't think they're playing the best that they possibly can. So, as far as rostering guys from the Bucks, that's not going to be the first place I go. And that's, I think, might be a little contrarian, but I'll look at the Hill situation and then jump over to the Miami side. Now, I think you've got a whole different situation on the Miami side. You've got Bam, who is going to be defended by Giannis, and Giannis is the defensive player of the year. I think he neutralizes Bam, so I'm not going to go there. But I think the places you can go is some of the perimeter shooting for the Heat. The Bucks do give up a lot of threes, and I think that's where the Heat can take advantage of some matchups here. I think Butler is certainly in play. I also think that price-wise, you can utilize Dragic, Hero. Those two guys, to me, are going to get enough minutes to both perform, and they do finish together on the court. So, I'm initially leaning towards maybe one off if I can get the value play from Milwaukee and 2 or 3 guys from the Miami side, because I think Milwaukee's going to try so hard to push that pace. Even though Miami's going to slow it down, it's going to lift the amount of possessions and DFS capabilities of the Heat. So I think that's the smarter side to go in this game. And that's all under the assumption that I think this will be a pretty competitive game. And, I don't think it's going to be massive scoring game, but enough with a 2-game slate. You got to play these guys. If it's a 4-game slate, then I may come out of this game with 1 or 2 guys max. But I think you've got to pick your spots here. And if I can get those value guys that I just mentioned, and that allows me to spend up in the last game.
Okay.
Makes sense?
So, yeah, it does. And it's interesting how I mentioned that these teams have played, well, to be specific, 2 higher scoring games and 1 lower scoring game. And the game that Butler played, Miami won that one 105-89. And Giannis only had 13 points and 15 rebounds, 3 assists, even though he played 31 minutes. And Middleton only had 12 points and 7 rebounds. He went 4 of 16 from the field. So if that's the Butler factor and you get a similar type of game, then what you're
Butler
talking
did
about,
guard in that game.
what you're talking about, that makes a lot of sense, where the Milwaukee guys just don't pay off. And you're looking more at the value plays. And one other guy I want to mention as a value play is Iguodala. Just because he's so cheap, he's 3.5 on DraftKings. He's only 4.2 on FanDuel. Is another guy that he's been getting more minutes lately. I think he can be effective enough. There just aren't very many guys at all in the 3K range who I think you could even consider on DraftKings. So he's one more value play that I'm going to consider from this game, especially if you're going to try to stack the second game more, and you're going to limit your exposure to this game. Then he, along with Crowder, for me, are 2 guys you can use as value plays.
You're talking that Satan GPP talk with me with Iguodala again. Yeah. I mean, again, he falls in that category of some of these other guys that if they're $200, I'm not taking them. I don't think Iguodala, if he gets 15 fantasy points, you've done well, in my opinion. So, again, I get it. We got to find value, but I just, it is the playoffs. It's a crunch time series. Maybe he gets some additional run, but I want to try to go with a little bit safer minutes and possibilities. I mean, Iguodala, even when he was on the Olympics and an all-star, he still couldn't shoot back then. He's not really a scorer. He's just always been a great player and defender and everything else. But plus, he sort of looks like he should be in our rec league now, ripping on Iguodala. He's got the beard, looking a little thicker, and we all get old, man. It's no fun.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, and I don't like his shooting. I never will. But I do like the fact that in the last 4 games, he's played 25, 28, 28, and 26 minutes.
Yes.
And he's only shooting a couple times. It's not about his scoring. It's about all the other stats.
Yeah.
So
good GPP play, Shane.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I'm messing. No, I'm with you. I get it. But again, that's that distinction too between cash builds and GPP builds. It's such a balancing act all the time. But yeah, I mean, again, there's nothing that just is dead cinch. This is a perfect matchup for this guy or that guy. These are going to be hard fought games. There's no question about it. I wanted to mention one thing because this is important. If you guys don't, if you're researching this on your own and you're not a member yet, because we do all of this research for you and prepare it and put the lineups out and put the coach's clipboard out on for DraftKings. But if you're just listening and not a member and you want to look deeper into some of these games, it's imperative that, like Andrew brought up, the minutes played by guys, how they did against each other. You can go to basketballreference.com and dig into these games. You can go back and look, like I looked prior to see how many these matchups this year between Milwaukee and Miami, and you can look at who guarded who was on the floor, and you can see what their production was. And those things are all very, very important. That's how, a lot of people are going to jump at Middleton, and I'm not saying he couldn't have a great game, but I'm considering Butler's locked him down a multitude of times, and he locks down just about everybody. It makes it a little bit tougher play, even at the cheaper price. So I just wanted to mention that for those that aren't members. Again, if you become a member with us, we're doing all of that. I mean, we work on this. We'll probably work on this slate. How long, Andrew? 6-7 hours of trying to figure out the right combo in a 2-game slate.
Yep.
But if you want to become a member, it's dfscoachtalk.com. Join us for a week, a month, a year, however long you want to jump in. We do have 2 days until our fall special. You want to tell everybody about that? That starts September 1.
Oh, it's exciting. It's a 4-month deal where you get a nice discount on the monthly price for the entire fall season here through the heart of football. $199 gets you full membership. And at DFS Coach Talk, we don't just do a sport by sport membership. So the fall special will give you access to all of our sports for the entire fall. So it's a terrific way to save some money and get access to the full FanDuel lineups, every slate, every sport, as well as the DraftKings coach's clipboard. And coach also puts up fantasy draft lineups. But you get all that for one package, one price. And this is the could you get a more exciting time with more DFS than football season starting? We're in the basketball playoffs. Baseball's still going. We're still doing golf. Multiple majors coming up. I mean, it's just incredible. So great time to join.
Summer is here, and sports are finally back, which can only mean one thing. It's time to get back, relax, and make some cash. Everyone has to start somewhere, which is why you want to get off on the right foot by choosing an established book like mybookie.ag. With all the major sports seasons just around the corner, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. Dynamic betting lines and a simple-to-use platform make the process easier than it's ever been. Create your account in just a few easy steps. Deposit and begin placing your bets. Sign up now using promo code COACHTALK to get your deposit matched 100% all the way up to $1,000. Plus an extra $25 free play. That's promo code COACHTALK. Use it to score yourself an extra piece of the pie. With MyBookie, you bet, you win, and most importantly, when you win, you get paid.
It is a great sports time, so excellent. All right, we're going to go to game 2 here, and it is a 9 p.m. game, and it is a huge one. It's the Rockets trying to close out the Thunder. The Thunder trying to get it to a game 7. The Rockets, same spread as the first game. They're a 5.5-point favorite. The over-under in this game is 226, so it is just a smidgen higher. And, I think this game is more stackable, more palatable, and has more upside personally. But what do you think?
Well, I'm trying to start with some building blocks here on this slate. So another building block for me is Covington at 5.8 on DraftKings. I think he's a glue guy for not only the court, but for your lineup. We were on him last game as he'd been trending back up with the minutes and the shots, and then he really was terrific in the last game. So I like him here, still a great price. Tucker is another value play if you're looking for a cheap guy. 4.3 on DraftKings, 4.2 on FanDuel. He was playing well until he got ejected.
Yeah.
And if he comes back with a little extra feistiness, I think he can hit value. As for the rest of Houston, that's the real challenge here. I'm going to have some exposure to Harden. I'm a little hesitant to play Westbrook. Gordon is a little bit expensive in my mind. So it's a little bit tougher to stack this one, I think, with the prices and the 2-game slate, everything that goes into it. So it's a real challenge. And on the OKC side, that's a tough one, because it was a bit of a dud last game. We talked about how Chris Paul, we thought he'd be a little bit fatigued, and he didn't have it. Shea was terrible. Schroeder was great until his ejection.
Yeah.
Dort couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but good bounce back spot for him. 0 for 9 on threes. Probably won't be very highly
get worse.
Can't get any worse. You just worry about his confidence, and will he be completely gun shy and not take the open shot, because Houston's going to give it to him again. Adams is in play. So, this game is just a little bit challenging for me. And it's funny because on the last slate, I was more about stacking this one and you were more about fading it. But now it seems like you're more ready to get invested in this game.
Yeah, my theory is this. It's the Thunder now are in an elimination game. So that always turns the table because it's all hands on deck. Like, when Denver was about to be eliminated, they just, Jokic and Murray, they never came out, not even for 30 seconds in the second half. So, I think the Thunder are going to have to roll with their key guys more than they've had to. So that elevates them up a lot for me. Also, I like Houston better. I assume part of that strategy last game was you don't just inject Westbrook back into a lineup that he's been out of for quite a while, and it doesn't change the whole chemistry of things because he's very ball dominant, and it takes a little time, to work back into that. So, I think it settles back in more so here. I think there are a lot of good plays here. The question is, if you go spend high, you're going to have to take some of the cheaper guys, or you can just go high with one guy and try to balance it out. I think I'm leaning towards Harden being my pay up guy. And the reason being is Westbrook's presence, even though I'm not quite going to play him yet, I think he'll get his, especially if it's close, good 28 minutes to 30. He played exactly what I thought last game, 23. And so he'll do a better job, but his price is still enormous. And for him to think he's going to have one of those crazy Westbrook, 40-10 games or whatever, I just don't see that yet, maybe in the next series. But I do think his presence helps Harden because, yes, Dort will be on him. But when Westbrook was out, they ran a lot more stuff at him, doubles. They didn't switch the pick and roll. They stayed on him. And they can't do that with Westbrook because he'll just carve them up. So I think what they'll do is, Westbrook's presence may help ultimately Harden's DFS total. So that's my theory there. The two guys I'm going to continue to roll with, I've rolled with them so far, and they have not let me down, is I believe in Eric Gordon, and he continues to prove me right every game. He's a big-time player, and he is a guy that steps up in these type of situations and isn't afraid to take the shot. And Covington as well. I think the best thing that ever happened was, like we've mentioned a few times here, when he didn't finish 2 games in a row for the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter and they rolled Jeff Green out, he definitely took that personal. And his last game and a half, he's been playing with a lot more fire. So, I like that side, maybe 3 on the Houston side. As far as the Oklahoma City side goes, I just can't roll Dort out there. I get it that he's going to get shots, but the dude is just, it's got to be in his head now. And, he hustles, he plays great D. I think he's going to be a good player in the league, but offensively, from a DFS perspective, even if he gets 35 minutes, you've got limited DFS upside points-wise. So I'm a little concerned there. I think Adams becomes a pay-down center that, not super low, but, better than some of the guys. I think he's reasonable. Again, I think he'll get some extended run being an elimination game. So I do like Adams. The only guard, I'm not going to go with Paul again. I still am in that frame of thinking that he's not 100% locked in. Shea just proved that he needs this series and experience. Even if he wakes up, I refuse to go. I mean, some of his shots look like he literally did poop his pants. I mean, I'm serious. He was running like he had something in those drawers. You know what I mean? So I think he shot one flat-footed, didn't he? I mean, it's like, What is going on here? Yeah. So anyway, the guy to go with is Schroeder. I think he would have had another whip-ass game if he didn't, and he should not have gotten thrown out. And that was a bad call. But, he's proven that he's a thorn in these guys' side a bit. And I still think when Schroeder's in there with Paul or with Shea, I knew we were dead meat the second I saw the matchups at the beginning of that game, and I was shocked. Westbrook started on Shea, and I thought, oh, shit, here we go, because I assumed Westbrook would guard Paul. I mean, he's guarded him there before, and they just decided they were going to shut Shea down, and Westbrook shut him down big time. So I guarantee you they go back to that. So Shea's off my list, but why I'm saying that is when Schroeder's in there with Shea or Paul, I think that he won't get Westbrook defense. I think he'll get a lot of the off guard, whether, whoever else is in the game, with him, Harden or whomever. So I'd go more on that side. So the stacked playable guys for me at this point, like I say, from the Houston side, I like the pay up for Harden. I really think you're going to continue to get value at Gordon and Covington's price enough that they I see them 6-7x. And, from the Thunder side, you got to consider Adams and Schroeder the way he's played thus far in the series. So, that's my diagram initially is, that 5 or 6 guys from the second game and 2 or 3 from the first, depending on the build. So as it sits now, and we'll, again, we're talking this out today. This will post in the middle of the night here, so you can listen to it Monday morning. But we have all the way until 6:30 p.m. Eastern time for the lock on this. So stay tuned tomorrow because a few things could change. But, it goes to show you, though, something, Andrew, and this is a great point, for our listeners and for some people that haven't played DFS for a long time. Every slate is completely different, and every slate, the strategy is completely different. If it's a 2 or 3 game, it changes your build. If it's a closeout game, it changes your build. If a guy's back for the second game after being out for 4 games, it changes your build. So all of those criteria fold in. And it's funny because my generation were all players. We didn't have daily fantasy. We had to play year-long stuff. So you get stuck in your head, who is going to be strong for me throughout the year and who's going to see it through, or, even if you looked at it from a playoff side. But you have to completely block that out, reshuffle, reset up, and start from scratch every slate. That's what's wonderful about DFS. But, people may say, wow, coach, just 2 days ago you said fade this game. Now you're stacking it. Why? What is the, again, all those criteria that I said, plus, a bunch of digging on basketballreference.com and looking at matchups, scenarios, minutes played, type of defense in specific situations. And Thunder's defensive scheme completely changes with Westbrook back. And you saw a piece of that in that game 6, but not the full shift yet because he wasn't completely ready to go full tilt, and it was a blowout. So you're going to have a whole different scenario for this game. So wanted to mention that.
Yeah, great breakdown, especially on those defensive matchups. Makes a lot of sense. I want to share a couple more thoughts on Westbrook and get it out loud so we can start to think about it.
Yeah,
Because on FanDuel, I'm thinking a little bit about Westbrook, and I want to share my thoughts on it and get your feedback.
sure.
Because if you if you look at the shooting guard position on FanDuel, you've got such great choices other than Harden. You've got Jimmy Butler, you've got Chris Middleton, you've got Schroeder. Those are three solid options right there. If you take two of those three, you can't play Harden. You have a little bit more money to spend, and you go look back at point guard position. If you don't want to play Chris Paul at 8,200, you want to pay up for Westbrook at 94. Uh, you know, it sort of makes sense just because of the structure of FanDuel, especially if you're not going to play Giannis. And here's the thing with Westbrook. Last game, he had 7 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Didn't play many minutes because it was a blowout. And I was
23.
watching in the first half, he had it was like 4 or 5 possessions in a row where he drove and kicked out and set up guys for wide open shots, and they just kept missing him.
Yeah.
He easily could have had 10 assists in those 24 minutes, and we know that he can get 10 rebounds in a heartbeat. And give him 30 minutes. I could see him getting a 20, 10, 10 triple double, a few steals. All of a sudden, you're looking at 55 fantasy points, and I'd like to be on him when he clicks it together at on FanDuel. He's 1,800 cheaper than Harden, and he's 2,100 cheaper than Giannis. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not feeling great that he's going to put up 55 fantasy points, but I think it's possible if OKC gives them a game. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I think Westbrook's a decent play. I really do. I mean, I was 1,000,000% fade on him the last game. You know that. But yep. I think he's playable here just because I do expect this to be a closer game. And I think he will, in a situation like that, play 28 to 30 minutes. And like you said, I mean, he's just a DFS, points machine in that time frame. And, I think you point out a good thing. I'm not really considering him on DraftKings at all, but I am on FanDuel a little bit just because of what you mentioned, the build that you have to make. Because you don't have multiple position guys, right. So your build's got to look a little different. So, again, that's the difference there with how you want to build those. But, I don't think you can play Westbrook and Harden. So, if you're going to roll Westbrook out, then you got to sit Harden. It's risky. It could be a little contrarian. I don't think a lot of people will roster Westbrook and sit Harden, but, it's possible. So, but if Harden does get 15 to 18 more fantasy points, as I have him projected to get 14 or 15 more, that's a lot of territory to have to chase down. So it's close, man. I mean, yep. This is a hard slate. We do a ranking, just so you guys know, of our slates, and we do it for all three sites that we provide for. The DraftKings, which we don't provide a full lineup. We certainly stay within their regulations and do the coach's clipboard. And then FanDuel, we give the full lineup, and Fantasy Draft. And we give up to 5 crowns for the best lineup, down to 1 for, this, maybe skip or don't play it. I don't see any of my rankings being above a 3-star tomorrow, or 3 crown, just because this is a tight 2-game slate. And I it's not one where, again, me, I like more games, the better, but in 2 games like this where there is so much variance, it's just not really a good day to double up, in my opinion, if you will, and just you got to play it a little smarter. So I think we can make some fantastic lineups, and I think we can win some good money. It's just, I think you got to be just a slight bit more cautious because these games are lots of variance in these 2 games.
Agreed. And the thing is, we're grinding early here. We got like 18 hours until lock. So we're ahead of the game, and we invite you to come grind with us.
Yeah, and definitely, I'll tell you, if you play Major League Baseball as well, man, we're having a blast. And I'm in my glory because you get 10, 11, 12, 13 games on the board, and we only lost one today for that. They had some folks that tested positive, but we got the rest of the games to play. So it's been a lot of fun. We're definitely jumping there. I love being able to factor in lineups when you have all the that many players, because anything you do to some extent is going to be somewhat contrarian just because there's so many options. So,
right.
But both locks are similar to the same time again. So, that's one thing. Don't wait if you're playing both to the last minute. You want to get a real head start on developing some lineups. We've mentioned it for those maybe that are new to the podcast. Our process, we get this podcast out, so you have plenty of time tomorrow, which, we're doing this sort of in the middle of the night. It is tomorrow, but a lot of the time on Monday to listen to this podcast. Then, like we said, follow us on Twitter. We'll be posting a lot of information there. We're at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. He is at Language Olympic, and Shane is at DET Sports Shane as well. So,
hey, Coach, quick Twitter thing here.
Mm-hmm.
I just had an idea. I'm curious for our listeners and our members. I want to challenge folks to tweet at us if they have a play on DraftKings, a value play that they think is cheaper than Iguodala, who they think is going to outscore him. All right.
Can I do it?
You can do it. Okay. So he's 3,500. I want to see if there's anyone you'd rather play on DraftKings who's cheaper than Iguodala. And I don't know if you're going to be able to find it. And that's why I'm curious. And that's why I mentioned it, because on DraftKings, you have to look for the guys in the $3,000 range in GPPs, even in a 2-game slate. And I mean, Nerlens Noel might be the best candidate, but he's played like 13 to 15 minutes the last couple games. So yeah, I think it's risky to play anybody cheaper than that. So I'd love to hear from folks on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll mention it on the next pod too. That'd be fantastic. So there's a challenge. Good. He's Mr. Hansen throwing down the gauntlet here. What do you got to beat Iguodala?
Yep.
So we'll see. All right, excellent. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, I always want to mention it at the beginning, and I forget because we get right into the sports stuff. But take a second. Please hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe. That's so important to us. We bring these 7-day-a-week podcasts to you in front of the paywall. We really need those thumbs up. We really need those likes, and subscribe. This way, if the podcast posts at midnight or 7 in the morning or whenever, exactly when it posts. Also, if you're listening to us through all of our podcast outlets, we want to challenge you to go to iTunes for a second. Give us 5 stars. Put in a quick comment. It's just today and tomorrow. 2 more days left in the 1-month membership giveaway, and all you have to do to qualify for that drawing, we'll announce it here on the podcast, and we'll post it on our Twitter, is put a 5-star and a quick review, even if it's just a couple of words, great podcast, whatever, then you will qualify. If you put podcast sucks, you might be eliminated from the drawing, but no, it's to qualify, all you have to do, 5 stars and post that comment. So, and everywhere else podcasts are heard, you could find us as well, whether it be Podbean, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. We're everywhere. So if you have a chance to give any reviews, we really appreciate it. All right, that takes care of that. We do want to thank certainly our presenting sponsors, mybookie.ag and tvg.com. Use the promo code CoachTalk, one word, no space, for great offers. You can find those on our website. And also our charity of choice here is mambon3.org. It's MAMBAONTHREE.org. Fantastic charity set up by the Bryan family. That is mainly it, buddy. I think we got it. We've got more basketball, and certainly we'll be back for that tomorrow. I mean, it's starting to get really intense now that we're through most of the first round games here. We're going to have a very exciting Game 7 in this Denver-Utah series. I do want to bring up one last thing. Since it's only a 2-game slate, we have a few seconds at the end. I briefly touched on it with you before the podcast, but I need you to explain to me from a coach's perspective how Denver and how Utah are not doing something. I get it. Murray and Mitchell are playing out of their damn minds, but they're still doing it one-on-one. Why are they not doubling? Why are they not blitzing? Why are they not forcing somebody else to beat them? That's the thing that drives me nuts when I'm watching these games as a coach. Mitchell comes down, hits a three, drives to the basket, beats his man off the dribble, and one, drives to the basket for a dunk. I want Joe Ingles to beat me, or I want O'Neal to beat me, or I want Niang to beat me. Whatever. I mean, get the ball out of his hands. So I don't know. I wanted to get your opinion because I don't know. I'm yelling at the TV like an old senile coach saying, why are you playing these guys one-on-one? And look at the statistics. I mean, there's never been 2 guys since they've kept statistics. I'm talking back in the Chamberlain Russell and then back with Kuzi and way back, where 2 guys are just torching teams like this. This is the first time in one series that one player has 3 consecutive 40-plus games. Michael didn't do it. Chamberlain didn't do it. It's amazing, but it's true. And, he dropped 50, 42, and 50 again. So I just need you to give me some peace of mind so I can sleep tonight, why they're not doing it.
I don't think you're senile. I think especially Denver has to do it because they've got all those versatile defenders. They got Gary Harris back now, Craig, Grant. I mean, all these guys who are long, athletic, quick, they're known as strong defenders. So use your defenders, get the ball out of Mitchell's hands. You just have to. The guy is so hot. It worked the game before, and they just got lazy on it tonight. Especially late, they just let him shoot a 3 every time down. You got to get it out of his hands. On the flip side, I think it's more challenging with Murray because he runs the pick and roll with Jokic. Jokic pops out. He's a real threat. He'll hit multiple threes on you, or he'll pump fake and drive. I mean, the guy's incredible. So it's just you have to stay more honest if you're Utah trying to defend Murray. And, oh, by the way, he just basically made every shot he took. He was incredibly efficient to get his 50 shots. I think he took 24 field goals to get 50 points. I mean, at that point, you just tip your cap and say the guy had an incredible game. But I agree. If you're Denver, there's no excuse in Game 7. You cannot let Mitchell beat you. You have to get the ball out of his hands.
Yeah, and, I know I'm a little sour because I faded Mitchell the last couple of games for the simple reason that I just assumed Malone would have the semblance of mind to get the ball out of his hands. I'm with you. It's tougher on Murray. So I played Murray anyway because he's been hot. We've been riding that streak, and, until somebody slows him down, we'll keep playing him. And it is a little bit tougher for them because Jokic's presence is completely different than Gobert's. Gobert's going to be at the rim. He's not a threat outside 10 feet. So it's totally different. But, trust me, I'll tell you right now, and I think I told you at the beginning of the game, I can't wait for this next game. I'm already scouting the day after tomorrow because I can't wait to fade some of these guys and play some different setups. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I just wanted to throw that in there because, sometimes the coaching doesn't, 2 + 2 = 5 sometimes, and you wonder what these guys are looking at. And, I know people are probably saying, yeah, but I mean, they could have closed their eyes and threw it. Those 2 guys were making everything. But you know what? You don't even let them get the shot. If you deny them and throw 2 guys and blitz somebody, when Harden was having that stretch of games in the regular season, if you remember, where he had like 56 and then 62, something stupid. Then he had a couple of games against some coaches, Spoelstra and
Golden State.
And yes, and Golden State and Kerr. What they did, they literally blitzed him, forced Westbrook. Westbrook was like 1 for 10 from 3. It does mess with people's heads too, and it slowed them down. Now Houston eventually adjusted a few games down the road, and when Dallas tried to do it, they took him out of it because Westbrook, what he was doing was he wasn't chucking the 3 because he took it like, you guys don't think I can shoot, I'm shooting it. But he understood, he stepped up. When he penetrated, he either got a dunk or kicked it, and then they had wide open threes for Gordon and House and all those guys that can shoot the threes for them, McLemore, everybody. So again, that's just the X and O stuff is what I love, and I think we'll see how that's going to develop. And I'll tell you, if you think that I'm making huge shifts from game to game here, wait till we get into a different series with a different matchup. I can't wait to go through the games then, because then it's 1,000,000,000% different. And there's going to be guys that I've played every game in the playoffs that will not see my roster through that whole series. So anyway, it's fun. We love it. This is a blast. We're very blessed and lucky to be able to do this every day and share that with everyone and give us feedback. I know, people have been sending some comments through on YouTube, and we love it. We really appreciate it. But hit us on Twitter as well, and we love to interact. We always respond, and we'll never get too big or too busy not to respond. We've made that promise to each other from the get-go. So we will always do that. And you're not going to find more passionate folks going after it either. If we can uncover it, we're going to uncover it. So
that's right.
We'll go from there. All right. I think that's it. I think we can roll with it. We find a way to make two game podcasts super long. I don't know how, but it is what it is. Any final words, sir?
No, that's the passion. So we'll keep doing it, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thanks so much for listening in. We love it. We love that we're growing every day. Continue to shoot those reviews, give us the shout outs, and join us every day. Let's make this a habit every day to jump in there and have some fun. So, all right. We thank you very much. And we hope you have a great DFS day on Monday. And we will be back again tomorrow as we look to crush it in DFS.